I'm a college kid that lives in Big Rapids. I heard people say there is this church around Reed City where this thing hangs out. My 3 friends and I arrived at the church at 2:30 in the morning. We sat in my car. After about a half an hour, something caught our eye. About 50 yards to the right of us, we saw something moving. We didn't think anything of it until we heard big twigs start to snap. There were crickets all around chirping, and all of a sudden they all stopped. I got out my mag light and shined it in the area. I kept on seeing something move over in the woods, kind of a silhouette. I thought it was a deer until we shined the light on it. It must have been 6'9". It was huge tall. It was a humanoid. I could see below the midsection, could see thighs but not feet. I believe it was bipedal. The hair was either dark brown or black, probably dark brown. Must have covered most of the body, maybe an inch long. We did see one arm. It was behind a tree in a little wooded area, and it stood half behind the tree and half exposed. It didn't move at all when we had the light on it. Its arm was longer than a human's. When we saw it in the light, it was standing still. It looked a little hunched. I only got a small view of its face. I could tell that it was very hairy, but it didn't remind me of a dog's face. The way the eyes set made me think of a human's face. I could not see the ears. I remember the mouth to be narrow, but I don't recall seeing a nose on the end of the snout. All I could really tell about the eye color was it was yellow, and the eyes were a little slanted. I think it may have been some light reflection of its eyes. It had a very large forehead. This freaked us out so bad that we quickly left in the car. After about a half mile on the road, we decided we had to go back and see what it really was. We returned and pulled in the back of the church and sat for about 5 minutes. We then heard noises all around us. I can't explain these noises, but they put shivers down my spine. Then as soon as the noise stopped, a motion light on the church turned on and we heard something running away very fast. From the sounds, it sounded massive. I was so scared I couldn't even move. We are in the car this whole time, mind you. All of a sudden, my friend yells he spotted something behind us. I pushed my clutch in and slowly rolled back to get a closer view. My friend shined the light on a set of trees and 2 yellow eyes stared at us. I thought it was a regular road reflector until I saw it blink. I could tell this thing was on 2 legs at the time we saw the eyes. A feeling came over me. I felt this thing wanted to harm us. I fired up the car and floored it. We must have been going 40 miles an hour, and I could see in my brake light that this thing was chasing us on all 4s. This thing was huge, damn fast, and gaining on us. Eventually I lost the thing and had to pull over down the road to calm myself and my friends down. My body was in shock. I don't know if this is a Dogman or not, but this thing is not human, is not natural, and is not friendly. My friends and I are no longer skeptics, and we don't ever plan to visit that church again. I was out driving one night because I was bored and wanted to get out of the house. First, I want to say that I don't drink at all or do any kinds of drugs. Usually when I'm driving, I see many animals: deers, rabbits, raccoons, possums, skunks, and more. But this night, I didn't see any animals out. This was very unusual. I was about 2.5 miles outside of Cross Plain, Texas, when suddenly there was a large animal in the middle of the road eating a raccoon that had been hit by a car. I first saw a sparkle from the animal's eyes as my headlights shined up the road. I always watch for shining eyes because I know many animals are out at night. I slowed down and stopped about 30 feet from the animal, which at first looked like a large, dark gray dog eating on the dead animal. It was standing on all 4 feet and started off to the left side of the road, but only moved a few feet when it turned and went back to its meal. The dog then picked up the coon in its mouth and headed off to the road to the right. As I watched the dog-like animal walking off the road, the animal then raised up on its hind legs as it walked towards the fencing along the road. When it got to the fence, the animal jumped over it while still carrying the coon.
I know most animals and know that a full-size coon can easily weigh 30 pounds or more. This animal walked on its hind legs and jumped over a fence that was about 5 feet high and didn't even touch it. The animal then crouched behind some weeds and small brush. I had gotten out of my car with a flashlight to see more because I didn't know what I was seeing. I don't know of any animal like that, and I lived in rural areas in Texas all my life. When I shone my light on the animal, the reflection of light on the animal's eyes was red. It was like when you take a picture of someone and they have a red glow from the flash. I know most animals' eyes reflect kind of blue or white sparkle when light is shown on them. Anyway, while I was shining the light on the animal, it started a very loud, deep growl and then a loud hissing noise. At that point, I got back into my car. I wasn't staying any longer without a gun, and I didn't have a gun with me. I watched the animal for a period of about 8 to 10 minutes before I left. The animal had no tail, and it did not look like any dog I've ever seen.
I live in a small town. Everyone knows everyone. The infrastructure is not like a big town with nightlife and lots of night activity. I saw a creature in my living room by the large picture window through my curtains. I was probably 20 feet away from the window in the hallway next to my room. My home is a tiny cracker box. Well, it's very small. I was laying down at the time, but earlier had heard the neighborhood dogs fighting, and you could hear that whatever they were fighting with was steadily moving towards my house. Each block I could hear more and more dogs barking and growling. What brought my attention away from the TV was I heard a weird howling, one that I never heard before, ever. It was end of April 30th, to be exact at 10 p.m., when I heard the howl and dog commotion in the neighborhood. I heard my neighbor's dog fighting with whatever it was, and then I heard the dog scream and yelp in pain. Then there was a weird, strange silence. I heard this thing start moving again to the north of my house, and I thought to myself, good, it's passed by. I went outside when I heard the howl, and I thought, geez, that was a fucked up howl. I never heard a howl like that before, and I laughed it off. I glanced up and I noticed the moon was full and thought it did sound like a werewolf from the movies. Around 11 p.m. or so, I was laying down watching TV with my pit bull. Brownie sleeps with me. My husband left for work earlier that night around 8. He works all night. Brownie woke me up growling at something, and I also heard my boy Pit, Chaos, in the living room barking. Chaos is a non-barking, timid Pit. He sleeps in the living room on the couch, so I knew with my old girl growling, something was not right. I thought I'd better look as we have been having break-ins around our town. I got up and stopped in the hallway to look, really to yell at Chaos to shut up. He was laying on the couch facing the window and growling now. My attention was directed to the window. It is a very large picture window with sheer gaze curtains that you could see through, and I had left my blinds up. I could see the shadow of a man I thought outside, but I am nearsighted and I couldn't be sure. I thought to myself, surely this dude doesn't have ears like that, like dog ears. I went to get my glasses. Brownie never left my side. Chaos was still growling. I finally got my glasses and put them on. This is when I saw it clearly. It was very large with a big masculine body and head of a dog like a German Shepherd, because the ears were sticking straight up. When I first came in, it was looking off and I could see a snout shape, and I said quietly to Chaos, "Shut up." When I said that, this creature turned to put its face up closer to the window and put both hands, not paws, against the window. I was so scared I could barely breathe. Brownie and Chaos were both scared as well as they were whimpering. I had a gun but didn't want to shoot because I was kind of in shock but literally couldn't move. I was looking for a reasonable answer in my own mind to explain what I was seeing. When it put its hands up, I had a feeling it was communicating with me in thought and was saying, "Come here, I'm a good dog." It stood like a man and it looked like a man. I could only make out like shaggy hair around his neck area. Couldn't see if it was clothed or not, but it was built like a powerful bodybuilder and it stood on 2 legs. It had hands, not paws, but the most shocking part was its head looked like a German Shepherd's. I ran into my room and got in bed, terrified, after I couldn't actually move. I have never felt the sheer terror like I felt then, and I got under my covers and shook uncontrollably. My dog Brownie was under my covers as well and started growling again. I could hear this thing walking around the side of my house. Brownie moved her head, following the sound, growling. I made her be quiet and finally went to sleep, too scared to get up again. Next morning I went outside and looked. Nothing disturbed, no visible prints, but where its head was, I estimated it had to be 7 or 8 feet tall. I still hear this creature's howls a few nights in the month.